Muhammad Ali was filming a live television interview when suddenly the telephone rang out. On the line was an 8-year-old girl battling cancer who carried just one special question for her biggest hero. The moment she voiced it, Ali completely broke down, weeping on national camera. The whole interview stopped right there. 3 million viewers watched the greatest boxer alive turn into the most emotional man in America. Yet nobody realized that single question would trouble Ali's heart until his final day. It happened on October 12, 1982, as Muhammad Ali sat as a guest on The Morning Show, a well-known daytime program transmitted live from Chicago. Age 40, Ali had stepped away from boxing barely more than a year earlier. Already, his words carried the first hints of Parkinson's disease, the illness that would mark all his remaining years, even though doctors had not yet given him the official name. The chat was meant to feel light and cheerful. They would chat about his career, speak of his retirement plans, maybe share a magic trick or two. Ali truly loved performing magic for children. The host, Barbara Reynolds, knew exactly how to keep spirits bright. The studio crowd cheered happily. Everything unfolded perfectly until a producer stepped onto the set during a short commercial pause and handed Barbara a small note. She read it, looked stunned, then gave a quiet nod. "Muhammad," she announced as the show returned live, "someone is waiting on the phone to ask you something. She's tried to reach you for weeks. Her name is Sarah. She's 8 years old and she's calling from Children's Hospital." Ali's whole face changed in an instant. He sat up straight. "Put her through," he said firmly. The phone line hissed softly through the studio speakers. Then a tiny, weak voice, so quiet it made the entire audience fall utterly silent, came through. "Mr. Ali, is that really you?" "Yes, sweetheart. This is Muhammad Ali. What's your name?" "Sarah. Sarah Matthews. I'm 8. I have leukemia." The studio became stone still. Barbara Reynolds looked like she might speak, yet no words came. Ali's eyes began to shine with tears. "Sarah," Ali said gently, "thank you for calling me. You are very brave. I watch your fights on TV with my daddy. You're my favorite. You always win." Ali smiled, but it was a sad smile. "Not always, honey. I lost some fights too. But you never gave up." "That's what Daddy says. He says you're the greatest because you never quit." "Your daddy is a smart man," Ali replied. A long pause followed. They could hear Sarah breathing hard as if talking wore her out. The effort of this call clearly drained her energy. Then, softly, "Sir, Ali, I have a question." "Anything, sweetheart. Ask me anything you wish." Another pause, longer this time. Somewhere far away in a hospital room, Sarah gathered every bit of courage she owned to voice the words she'd carried for weeks, the words that scared her more than the sickness itself. "Mr. Ali," she whispered, her voice cracking, "when you go to heaven, will you remember me?" The question struck Ali like a heavy punch. His mouth opened, yet no sound emerged. Tears rushed into his eyes and poured down his cheeks. His hands, already trembling lightly from early Parkinson's, shook even harder. Barbara Reynolds covered her mouth with her palm. Several people in the front row began to cry too. The cameras kept rolling, catching every tear, every shudder. Ali tried to answer. "Sarah, I..." His voice broke. He tried once more. "Sweetheart, I..." But he could not finish. The emotion overwhelmed him completely. Muhammad Ali, who had faced Sonny Liston and George Foreman, who had stood firm against the United States government, who had never backed away from any challenge, could not reply to an 8-year-old's question. He buried his face in his hands and sobbed openly. The director swiftly cut to another commercial break. The last image 3 million people saw was Muhammad Ali crying so hard his shoulders jerked with each sob. During the break, Barbara knelt beside Ali's chair. "Muhammad, we can stop now. You don't have to continue." "No," Ali said, wiping his eyes. "Bring her back. I must talk to her. I have to answer her." When the show resumed, Ali had calmed a little, though his eyes stayed red and his voice sounded thick. "Sarah, He spoke into the phone. "Are you still there?" "Yes, Mr. Ali." She sounded frightened. "Did I make you sad?" "No, baby. You did not make me sad. You made me think of something very important. May I tell you something?" "Okay." Ali took a slow breath. "Sarah, when I reach heaven, and I truly hope that day is many, many years away, do you know what I'll do first?" "What?" "I'll look for you. And when I find you, do you know what we'll do together?" "What?" "We'll float like butterflies, both of us. No more pain, no more sickness, just floating." "How does that sound?" On the line, Sarah began to cry too, but then she said, "That sounds really nice, Mr. Ali." Ali kept speaking, his voice growing steadier. "Sarah, I want you to promise me something."
"Can you do that?" "Yes."
"Promise you'll fight. Fight this leukemia the same way I fought in the ring. Be brave, be strong, and never, ever give up. Can you promise me?" "I promise," Sarah whispered. "And I promise you." Ali said firmly, "I will never forget you. Not in this life, and not in the next. You are Sarah Matthews, and Muhammad Ali knows your name. That means something. That means you matter. That means you are a champion too." The interview ended soon after. The studio audience rose to their feet applauding, but this applause felt different. It wasn't celebration. It was deep respect for something sacred they had just witnessed. After the show, Ali asked Barbara for Sarah's hospital details. She gave him the information and her parents' phone number. "What will you do?" Barbara asked. "I'm going to visit her," Ali answered simply. 3 days later, Muhammad Ali walked quietly into Children's Hospital in Boston, Massachusetts. He told no one, not his managers, not reporters, not even his own wife. This wasn't show business. This was personal. He found Sarah's room on the pediatric oncology floor. Her parents stood in the doorway. The moment they saw him, both burst into tears. Sarah lay asleep, her head bald from chemotherapy, her skin pale as moonlight. She looked far younger than 8. Ali pulled the small chair beside her bed and simply sat. He did not wake her. He just sat there. This giant of a man squeezed into a tiny hospital chair, watching a dying little girl sleep. After about an hour, Sarah's eyelids fluttered open. She saw him and gasped. "You came. I promised I wouldn't forget you," Ali said. Muhammad Ali always keeps his promises. For the next 2 hours, Ali stayed with Sarah. He performed magic tricks. He told funny stories from his boxing days. He let her hold his Olympic gold medal, which he had brought just for her. He made her laugh, real laughter, something her parents hadn't heard in weeks. When it was time to leave, Ali knelt beside the bed and held Sarah's tiny hand in his large one. "Sarah, you're going to get better. I truly believe that. But if you don't, if heaven takes you before it takes me, you save me the best spot, okay? And when I get there, we'll float like butterflies." Sarah smiled. "I'll save you the best spot." Ali kissed her forehead and left. In the hospital corridor, he broke down crying again, this time with no cameras, no crowd, only Sarah's mother holding him as he wept. Sarah Matthews passed away on November 3, 1982, 22 days after that phone call aired on television. She was buried in Oak Hill Cemetery in Newton, Massachusetts. At her funeral, her father read a letter Sarah had whispered to him during her final days. It was addressed to Muhammad Ali. The letter thanked him for visiting her. It described dreams she'd been having, dreams where she could run, play, and breathe without pain. And at the very end, she added a small postscript, "Don't forget our promise. I'll be floating and waiting." Ali did not attend the funeral. He did not even know Sarah had died until 2 weeks later, when her parents finally found the courage to call him. When they told him, Ali stayed silent for a long moment. Finally, he asked, "Where is she buried?" What Sarah's parents never guessed, what nobody guessed for 15 years, was that Muhammad Ali began visiting Sarah's grave, not once or twice, regularly. Whenever he traveled near Boston, he would drive to Oak Hill Cemetery, locate Sarah's headstone, and sit beside it for hours. He talked to her about his life, his fights, his struggle with Parkinson's. He told her about his children. He shared jokes with her. Again and again, he apologized for failing to save her. Though nothing could have been done, Ali kept these visits completely private. He went alone, often at dawn or dusk when few walkers were about. He wore a baseball cap and dark glasses to stay unrecognized. He never told family. He never told friends. This was between him and Sarah. Across 15 years, Ali visited Sarah's grave at least 30 times, sometimes more than once in a single year. He brought flowers. He left small gifts, a butterfly-shaped pin, a tiny boxing glove, photographs of himself with the words, "The Real Champion," written on the back. The cemetery caretaker, Robert Chen, noticed the visits, but did not know who the quiet visitor was until one autumn day in 1997, when Ali's sunglasses slipped off. Chen recognized him instantly, yet said nothing. From a distance, he watched Ali sit by the grave, speaking softly, sometimes crying. Chen guarded Ali's secret for nearly 20 years, revealing it only after Ali's own death in 2016. "I love that little girl," Chen later told reporters. "You could see it in how he'd sit so still, how carefully he arranged the flowers. Sometimes he'd bring a live butterfly in a little jar and set it free right there. He'd say, 'There you go, Sarah. Float like a butterfly.' It was the gentlest thing I ever witnessed." In 1997, exactly 15 years after Sarah's phone call, Ali made his final visit to her grave. By then, his Parkinson's had advanced greatly. He could barely walk, could barely speak, yet he traveled to Boston anyway. This time he carried something different, a handwritten letter to Sarah. His handwriting was shaky, hard to read, but the words were clear. Sarah, the letter said, "I kept my promise. I never forgot you. Every time I see a butterfly, I think of you. Every time I hear a little girl laugh, I remember your laugh. You asked me if I'd remember you in heaven. The answer is yes. I'll remember you in heaven because I've remembered you every single day since you left. You were braver than any fighter I ever faced. You were stronger than any champion I ever knew. And you taught me something important. The greatest victories aren't won in boxing rings. They're won in hospital rooms where little girls fight battles nobody else can see. I love you, Sarah. I'll see you soon. We'll float like butterflies." Muhammad Ali. He placed the letter inside a waterproof box, weighted it with a smooth stone, and left it at her grave. When Muhammad Ali died on June 3rd, 2016, Sarah's parents, now elderly, attended his funeral in Louisville. They brought with them every item Ali had ever left at their daughter's gravesite: the butterfly pin, the tiny glove, the photos, and the letter. At a private gathering after the service, Sarah's mother, Linda Matthews, shared the full story publicly for the very first time. She told the crowd about the phone call, Ali's secret hospital visit, and the 15-year stream of quiet grave visits. "My daughter asked Muhammad Ali if he would remember her in heaven," she said, holding up the letter Ali had written in 1997. "And he proved he would. He remembered her every single day for 34 years. He never forgot a promise he made to an 8-year-old girl during a 10-minute phone call." Today, at Oak Hill Cemetery, Sarah Matthews' grave bears a small new plaque that wasn't there before. It reads as Sarah Matthews, 1974-1982, champion and friend of Muhammad Ali, float like a butterfly. The plaque was paid for anonymously, but Robert Chen knows who arranged it. On the day Ali died, Chen found an envelope resting on Sarah's grave. Inside was cash and a short note from her friend who never forgot. It simply said, "Zama." The story of Muhammad Ali and Sarah Matthews teaches us that real greatness isn't measured in titles or fame. It's measured in promises kept, in tears shed for another's sorrow, in quiet acts of love that no one ever sees. Ali broke down on live television because an 8-year-old girl's question reminded him of his own mortality. Her innocence pierced his bold persona and forced him to face the truth that one day he, too, would die. And her quiet plea, "Will you remember me?" touched the universal fear of being forgotten. Ali could not save Sarah, but he could promise to remember her. And for 34 years, he did. If this story moves you, remember this: we all leave marks on the world, but the deepest marks are made in the hearts of those we love. Sarah Matthews lived only 8 years, yet because of a 10-minute phone call and a man who honored his word, her story still echoes today. She matters, she is remembered, and somewhere, perhaps Muhammad Ali and Sarah Matthews are floating like butterflies together, just as he promised. Share this story. Let people know that true heroes aren't people who never cry. True heroes are people who cry for the right reasons, and then keep their promises anyway.